Got flags out, 250 feet in the air.
I started calling out airspeeds and altitudes
170 knots.
to give him a situational awareness of what was going on.
Got flaps 2. No more?
No, let's stay at 2.
Below 300 feet, Patrick Harton's radar can't see the plane. Flight 1549 disappears.
When the aircraft disappeared off my radar, I just assumed that there weren't going to be any survivors.
In the cabin, the passengers prepare for disaster.
You ready at the doors?
The folks at the door said, we're ready. I was just scared to death.
Full up.
We're going to brace.
Full up. Marine.
Looked like the airplane was going right to the bottom of the Hudson River. All we saw was water cascading over the windshield.
It was like a tornado. Pieces of the flying board were being torn apart. Some people were thrown around pretty good.
Then the airplane popped up. And it was just sort of gently rocking in the waves.
We all just sat there. We were all in shock, and we were waiting for what's next.
US Airways Flight 1549 was in the air for just 5 minutes and 8 seconds. Having made a remarkable landing, the passengers and crew now face a new danger. The ice-cold water of the Hudson is pouring into the cabin. The crew of Flight 1549 has just performed an extremely difficult feat of aviation, but they still have more work to do. Captain Sullenberger heads for the cabin, while First Officer Skiles shuts down the plane.
I stayed behind and did the evacuation checklist, and so it was probably about 45 seconds before I actually went back myself in the cabin after we landed.
The $75 million plane is quickly filling with freezing water.
That water was cold. People said, get the doors open, get the doors open.
Passengers nearest the exits open the doors quickly, while Sullenberger and the cabin crew begin managing the evacuation.
And so I worked my way out onto the wing, just a few steps to start with.
Skiles heads back to help the crew in the cabin get passengers out of the sinking plane.
Sully and I were getting seat cushions and life vests when we were passing them up. We were very confident there was nobody left on the airplane, but what was going on with the wings, we just had no idea.
Captain Sullenberger and First Officer Skiles are the last ones off the plane.
I just saw the big splash when the plane just bounced over the water. All commercial airline crashed into the water.
I'm in the water, but 10 minutes already.
Emergency services scramble to evacuate the passengers from the sinking plane. The rescue is broadcast live across the United States. The entire nation looks on as passengers and crew of Flight 1549 are brought to safety.
US Airways pilot made an incredibly skillful emergency landing in the Hudson River.
Authorities compare a list of 155 rescued people with the manifest, and miraculously no one. For investigators from the National Transportation Safety Board, or NTSB, it's an unusual situation. Normally, their main task is to uncover the cause of a crash. With Flight 1549, the cause seems obvious.
Birds.
The original Mayday call was clear.
Mayday, mayday, mayday. This is Captain 1549. You get birds?
I think everybody realized that the bird strike had occurred. What people didn't know was what kind of birds brought the aircraft down, whether it might have been a combination of a bird strike plus something else, whether the crew acted and flew the aircraft as they should have.
Tests confirm that Canada geese ingested into Flight 1549 ripped apart the engine's compressors. Metal shards from these broken compressors were sucked deep into the cores of both engines, shutting them down.
We've lost thrust in both engines. We're turning back towards LaGuardia.
Despite the safe outcome of Captain Sullenberger's heroic landing, there's one question that nags investigators.
We're going to be in the Hudson.
Did Sullenberger really have to land the Airbus in the Hudson River?
This is the captain.
Or could he have made it to a runway?
Bracing for impact.
Using a flight simulator, investigators study Chesley Sullenberger and Jeffrey Skiles' actions in the moments after their plane collided with birds.
Ignition.
We wanted to know, did the pilots do the right thing? Was there enough energy to make it back to LaGuardia? When we took into consideration the decision-making process that Captain Sullenberger went through, we realized that it was not possible to make it back to the airport.
We're going to be in the Hudson.
Putting the plane in the Hudson was the right call. Sullenberger didn't have enough altitude to glide to either LaGuardia or Teterboro airports.
We had a very experienced flight crew with very good training.
The accident accelerates development of avian radar, a technology that could help pilots evade flocks of birds. It's a tool that may have prevented the crisis over the Hudson. But it's the supreme piloting skills in the cockpit of Flight 1549 that saved lives in the end.
My aircraft, all your training that you've done, it all just comes back to you when you need it.
Well, the safety board, we don't really deal in miracles very often, but this event had a lot of things that came together at the right time and the right place. And so a lot of us are thinking, well, maybe we do have a miracle here.
Captain Sullenberger and First Officer Skiles are celebrated as aviation heroes. But both pilots are quick to deflect any praise.
These gentlemen will look at